Hello, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 5 of the ESG Experience, the podcast about all things ESG and beyond. Whether you're an ESG expert or just dipping your toes into the ESG universe, this podcast is for you. Together, we navigate the alphabet soup of ESG, share strategies, and discuss industry news and trends. I'm Helee Lev, SVP of ESG Operations at Conservice.
And I'm Ryan Nelson, SVP and General Manager of ESG at Conservice.
And today we are lucky enough to be joined by, before I even read their impressive credentials, I might share the most impressive thing we learned during the pre-chat, that they've been working together for 39 years.
I think it's more like 36, but
36 years. I'm sorry, I heard the 6 and 9, but that's pretty impressive. So now on to their actual qualifications to be guests on our podcast. So Gary Baker, CEO of Baker Brand Communication, and Roxanne White, VP of ESG Corporate Reporting of Baker Brand Communications. And Gary is the founder and of a corporate brand and ESG agency. He helps courageous leaders and forward-thinking organizations bond their beliefs, behaviors, and brand for true differentiation and attraction, align their culture, and inspire their people to live and deliver their promise. I like it. Develop ESG strategies and tell their story of purpose, performance, and impact, which is such a big and important part of what we do. Gary is on a mission to reveal what's in your heart and soul, individually and collectively, and use your beliefs to create a more human and sustainable company, making a positive impact where all people and the planet thrive. Can it be done? Can that be done?
we're trying.
All right. I like it. All right. And at Baker, diverse and impressive customers like Avery Dennison, Booz, Allen Hamilton, Disney, ABC, Nationwide, and Qualcomm. No small feat there. And Roxanne, part strategist, rainmaker, and corporate and marketing communications specialist. Rainmaker, I like it. I think that should be capitalized as a capital R in Rainmaker. Over her 37 years at Baker, she spearheaded developing and delivering various business development materials for the firm and projects, annual reports, investor communications, corporate brand developments, employee communications, and most recently, a focus on corporate responsibility and ESG reports. So we're looking forward to chatting with you guys today. The element of branding, telling your ESG story. So what we do on our end, we help folks achieve ESG, do the reporting, do the analytics, work with the data that they have. But I do feel that that's nothing if you don't talk about it, right? If you don't tell the story, if you don't explain who you are and why you're doing it, if you're doing it in a vacuum, it's something, but it's a lot more powerful if you do share that experience and story and motivation with the world. Yep. So welcome, guys.
Welcome.
Thank you. It's our honor to be here.
Great. So, Helee, I want to say something before we dive in. I did an episode without you recently, unfortunately, and
that one's gonna get listened to.
No one's gonna listen to that, except that the guest was awesome, and so I missed you. And getting through all that beginning part is really hard. So, geez, glad to have you back. And then another milestone here. I don't know that we've ever had two guests on at once. So this 4-person conversation is another great milestone. But
Yeah.
Roxanne and Gary, I'm going to get right to it. You tell me if I'm right or wrong here. What we need to do is we need marketing departments to come up with some fluffy purpose and to immediately start marketing it out of the gate and get the best value they can out of bragging about some cool purpose. Is that what we're supposed to do?
Yeah, well, you hit the nail on the head. Unfortunately, that does happen all too often, is that a bunch of executives get together in a conference room and they decide that, we need a purpose. And they
talks amongst themselves.
And they really don't even know what they're doing, but they make sure everybody at that table has been heard, and they water this thing down that it just becomes pure pablum, and it's really not meaningful. And we do a lot of work around purpose, and to me, I almost hate to use the word because it's so overused. But when you find it, and you got to dig deep, And I talk about heart and soul, right? It's got to be what you really believe. Many companies, starts with the founder, and people build upon that. It doesn't have to, but I believe it just really has to be felt and be very honest and very authentic, and something that people want to be a part of. And then it needs to be nurtured and grown and contextualized. Walt Disney just want to make people happy, and it doesn't. People try to make these really lofty statements at it. Well, yeah, you want to build that out to what that really means to different audiences and your business and your customers, what your purpose is. But it's got to be really authentic. It's got to live within the culture, or you got to work on it living within the culture. And we've been very successful with several companies helping them find that. And I've seen people just don't really kind of get it and understand it. And,
Right.
there's different kind of consequences.
And part of it is interviewing from top to bottom and all around, where you're getting input, from every level of the organization to really find that core, rather than just these people over here who are so isolated from the people doing the work that, it just doesn't ring true at the end of the day. It's got to ring true. And it's got to be something that can be turned around and interpreted through the job of each person. So it was interesting when we were actually doing an employer brand at Disney years ago. And one of the, objectives really was to bring down the walls between the different departments and
The silos.
And, everybody, they just want, like ABC, who was bought, by Disney, brought, ripped from New York, dropped in Burbank, wanted nothing to do with cast members. And, they just were, their perception of themselves. And yet we were able, with what we came, the substance of it was create what's next. We were able to make that turn with each division of what that meant for them. So it was like for ABC News, it was the next moment, historical moment, the next story, it was very, real to them. Like it was just so authentic that they could just adopt it, live it, breathe it. In the same token, we would take, create what's next for the soap opera, people, and you would talk about, creating the next obsession, the next this, the next that. That again, it was like, how is it relevant to you?
Yeah.
And often when they do,
That's a good point.
yeah, when you do that purpose, it doesn't get then translated and make that hook to actually what the different people do in the organization.
Sorry, we
Yeah, no.
we get very
I can tell that you guys are not at all passionate about the work you do, that you find it boring, and that you're
into the weeds very quickly here. So
Yeah.
But we are using like super cliche words: purpose, passion, authenticity. But I mean, they're all true, right? If you're not genuine, it comes through. There's no way to do that. And Ryan and I, in our preparation for this podcast, we read about purpose washing, and I could see how easily that could happen if it's not genuine and if it's not true to the DNA of the organization.
And if it's not lived within the organization, it's, so yes, kind of bankrupt words in a way, but very important concepts for a group of people, for a tribe, to have a reason to exist.
Right. And it's sort of interesting for us. It's interesting how ESG has started to evolve and move into being a direct part of all this. Like our businesses, we started our business in annual reports before there even really was the notion of corporate brand. But what we were doing before the internet was really creating that narrative, a company's narrative for the year. And then later, and at that time, corporate brand was more corporate identity, and it was just about a look and a feel and, being consistent with the typeface and the color palette and the blah, blah, blah.
There was no strategy.
There was no strategy to it. And then as things evolved, and certainly when we came to the introduction of the internet, annual reports sort of became more of a compliance document because people who watched those companies would get the news every day. They didn't have to wait for the annual to come out to hear what their narrative was. So as that business sort of drifted off, we got into corporate branding, and we saw the intersections of really that. And then as things became more purpose and mission and things that were part of the corporate brand platform that we would define when we were doing that type of work, later we started seeing that all of those aspects now were important in sustainability. So, what our new website that's about to come out, the statement on the front is about companies to thrive.
I'm sorry, guys, we're really getting into weeds here. Yeah, but to grow and thrive, humanness and sustainability are essential.
Right.
And so we're a different kind of company. We're a corporate brand agency.
Uh-huh.
Most branding agencies are branding a product or a service for consumer use. Typically, there's B2B as well.
Sure.
But when you brand a corporation, you have a lot of audiences. You have a lot of people that care about this. Customers, employees, and investors maybe being the top three, but I can rattle off 8, 9 more that are important. So it's just important that you're relevant to all those people. And the world's changed. People, not all people, some people don't. A lot of people care about the difference you're making for the planet and all the people on it, And then back to purpose. If you can really reveal what's in your heart and soul, then people want to believe in what you believe, your values and your purpose, and you can find the people that want to be in line with that.
Right. And
Ideally.
those can be, the best talent of the future. It can also be your customers, your heart and soul. As we know now, and it's been, in research, it's been shown that a lot of the younger people in particular, but even everyone across the board, that they want to work for companies that, are doing good. They want to buy from companies that have similar values and will even pay a little bit of a premium to do that, as well as invest in companies. They just don't want to invest on the criteria of profit alone anymore. And so I think that's what's driven for us this interest that instead of being different business segments that we helped corporations with, they've all converged. Because one of the things that we like to do differently when we do ESG reporting, those documents, yes, it's their sustainability story, their narrative that you must take control of because there are reputational risks. There are, things that absolutely come out of it if you don't, but at the same time, they are important for the future. What we like to do is bring in those values, those missions, those purpose into that document and sort of wrap the non-financial information that usually you're answering to frameworks and different questions for different industries. But you're also presenting the essence of your corporate brand at the same time, because that document, it can be a regulation document soon. It isn't the EU, but it will be here in the United States soon. And it's also it's a recruitment document today for employees. I mean, people don't realize that, but ESG is a big deal for recruiting the talent in the future, as well as I just said, in attracting investors, as well as your potential buyers of your products and services. So it's all coming together and sort of tying a big bow on it.
Yeah, I'm not like the most probably the most vulnerable or emotionally self-aware person in the world, okay? But I'm trying to justify using those. I mean, I like using those words like heart and soul and purpose and stuff around a company or an organization, but what is that at the end of the day? How do you articulate this? And I just always think a company is an imaginary thing, right? Like that's just a piece of paper that you file is a company. So the people at the company, the founders, the leadership, the people that work there and make it happen, all that. I mean, those are real people and they have those emotions and those feelings. And so, yes, if you can somehow, bring that into like a company is more like a person than you realize because it's the summation of the people. I don't know the technicalities of this, but I like trying to bridge from this imaginary thing that has people into giving it some life, and that you should use those words, I guess, to describe.
Not only should you use them, you should bring meaning to them and real meaning, and you should live them. It could be very powerful if you truly live those values and that main purpose, which informs the vision. You could have a powerful company. Companies like that. There's another term we use is when they put the people first. They figure out their people will take care of their customers.
Yes.
Their people will take care of the business. Their people will make sure this will thrive because their people are valued and cared for by the leadership of the company. It's part of the culture.
So right.
Yeah, I go to.
And there's no shortcut to it. There's no way to make it. You just genuinely have to do it. Like you have to live it, and you have to believe it, and you can't just be doing it and saying, "What's my ROI? Where's my return?" You just have to be like, "Nope, these are humans, and they're the heart and soul of my company. They're the reason my company exists." And that's it. And there's another one. People say that company wouldn't exist without employees and customers, right? And they're all people. They're all just human beings. Exactly. Same thing I say for customers too. And I agree with you. It starts inside your own house, right? You're not going to have happy customers if your own house is not in order. But I always tell people, get to know our customers as human beings. They have families, they have pets, they have passions, they have, get to know them a layer deeper than here's the scope, I'm contracted to deliver for you. How can I help you achieve your ESG goals? And I think that those working relationships go a lot deeper. I was going to ask you guys a question. So do you get customers that come to you that really want you to push their story? And then you kind of peel back the layers of the onion and you say, there really isn't much substance here. There's no story. And I know you guys do that kind of consulting as well, where you could say, but let's try and let's start. What's your threshold for, calling someone out if they really don't have it there? But they hire you for the marketing aspect.
Right. Where do I throw the bullshit flag down?
Yeah. Do you just throw it down right away?
Yeah. It's like, well, first of all, if I've got a pretty good bullshit radar, so walking into something, if just in your first dealings with people and you're making presentations, you're having conversations, what's going to happen, and are they going to be all in on this? I haven't found so many people that are hiding something, or I discover or reveal something that, oh my God, put the lid back on that thing. It's ugly. But more that people don't understand it and don't understand the power of it and go all the way. I worked with one guy and his company was worth almost $900 a share at one time. And we've helped a lot of people in his category. And so he saw the good work we've done for other people. And so we did work with him, but he just a combination of wouldn't let go or wouldn't open up and let it in. And, I kind of saw that, with him. He was a nice guy. After the end of the engagement, we shook hands, go your best way. But, I tried all I could to help him, and not sure how much I moved the needle because he really wouldn't let us.
Yeah.
And, he had the way he was getting, so I use the term courageous a lot when it comes to corporate brands. And part of being courageous is being vulnerable. And, I talk about, I want to penetrate that corporate veneer, which means, so many people, and it's human, right, to protect ourselves, especially in a corporate setting, a corporate environment. It's like, my God. So, I know I'm doing good work when I do a one-on-one interview. Julia once told me that was the most cathartic conversation I've ever had in a corporate setting. So it's getting the people to open up. But to answer your question, I haven't discovered too many.
Not too many, but one of the indications that I think we've discussed between the two of us sometimes is when the leader is not a learner. He's very, dogmatic and closed. We've done it this way. We're going to continue doing it this way.
You're articulating what.
And if all the people around him in the C-suite or her are yes men, we're in trouble. Because, no matter how much we can uncover and reveal, they all want to make that top guy happy, and that top guy is not open to change.
Might be a terrible person too.
Yeah, it's a, and it's not so much that they're a terrible person, but their style of leadership is what it is, and it's very difficult to sometimes penetrate that and really advance that. So I would say that we've run into that and immediately know it once we've had a few conversations. Yeah.
So as part of your work, are you typically pulling out a purpose that is there, or are you often finding that there is no purpose and it has to be worked through and one has to be created, or that both of those happen? Or I guess, what do you see?
There's it's there. We got to pull it out. I can share the story because it's on our website. There's a company in DC that's like 108 years old and just got some really bad press this week. It's Booz Allen Hamilton. And the character has been really important within this company. And they had 10 values at one time that were really revered within this company. But there was a new CEO, and because of going public and the Great Recession and disruption and changes to the business, that kind of didn't really focus on those values, and they were at a critical point where they needed to shore up this culture. And so we were working on an employer brand, and I said to them, this is not going to work until we get some other structural things in. Employer brand, you talk about employee value proposition and the employee promise and things like that. Well, people want to work for companies that have a strong culture. They want to be a part of a culture, and purpose and values are really help shape, define culture. So we got hired to help them rediscover their purpose and redefine values. And I had one-on-one conversations, and we had work groups, and we put people through these really fun exercises or quizzes. I guess kind of like a quiz you're going to give us later, Ryan.
Yeah.
These fun quizzes, but we ask questions, and they're not direct, they're indirect. So we're getting I'm trying to get to what people feel. I'm trying to. I don't want them to give me an answer from here. I want them to give me an answer from here, and we do that. So we did all this homework, and then we took our work, and then we started to shape what we found, and we came back to the management team with a purpose statement, and we got it down to 5 values. I think it's really also important that you use the lexicon of the company. There's some terms and words that just come out of these people,
Mhm.
That's not a bad thing,
Right.
That's not a bad thing, because you want to build on what's there. But the intention is to bring this into the executive table and let the executives put their hands on the clay, right? So when they kind of help finish shaping this thing, they sort of own it. They feel they are the ones that gave it the final shape that it's become. And in fact, them touching this was really important for a lot of reasons. Their buy-in to this thing was one. So that's one way that it happened for a company that lost their way.
All right, I got 2 questions for you. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Roxanne.
What I was just going to add about that situation was that 2 things. I mean, Gary said that the night we finished this, often companies will have their values. One of the criticisms that we always say is just like, oh, it's the same as, it could be any company because they all have similar words and blah, blah, blah. Well, one of the things that we really try to do, and that was what you were speaking to, I think, is interpret maybe some of those things, give them the adjective with that thing, combine it so that it's really meaningful for that company. Like, what does that really mean when you work there? An example of that was
courage.
Okay.
Courage is very, very important. But it's really important that was unflinching courage.
Mm.
Everybody you talk to talks about integrity, right? That's table stakes.
Sure.
But they really loved the notion and felt that they lived with ferocious integrity. And so, now we're starting to describe things that are ownable. I want these things to be ownable so they can say, yeah, that's us. Let's go forward and live this. Until you don't, you get caught not living it, and it hits the press. But that's,
well,
you can find it. But I don't want to talk about that.
But I mean, that's the reputational risk, that when you don't bring the people into it, that can happen. So,
and even what you do,
yeah,
there's a whole other topic around greed, but we'll save that for.
I can totally see the difference between saying, what's one of your values, ferocious integrity, versus being like, what's one of your values? Integrity's on there, It's different.
Yeah.
Okay, so my 2 questions, you can answer both of them in any order you wish. Roxanne Rocket White, I want to hear the story behind the rocket. And then my other question is just, have you guys ever fired a customer? Like just someone that's just unbearable to work with, does not follow your values, and you just couldn't, you turn them and their money down. So answer both or either in any order you wish.
Go.
I can't go on in life until I know.
Go with Rocket.
Well, Rocket has really been for me since birth, by my family and friends. So I was born. I shouldn't even say. I was born in 1956, and my father always kidded my mother that he was going to call me Sputnik, and so that sort of came. My mother had a very fast delivery, and my sister, who's 5 years older, called me Rocket. And I was an athlete when I was young. I was a competitive swimmer, so that sort of kept the momentum going of calling me Rocket. And it is just sort of the way that I blast through life. I'm pretty, I can be over the top and just like, and sometimes that's good, and sometimes they have to work on it. So that's the story about being Rocket.
So we try to choose clients that we feel that have a pain point, have challenges that we can really help. And so we try to be selective of clients. And I had a client once for 37 years. And so, business relationships are personal relationships, right? I mean, but they're a little complicated. And so there's one client we've been doing work with about 12, 13 years. And the person that brought us in is long gone. And a lot of key people we worked with are long gone. So we've gone through like 3 rounds of people that were there, and that we had a relationship, and that we could just pick up the phone and say, hey, I think we have a problem. Let's discuss it, etc. Well, I no longer have that relationship with anybody there, and people don't. None of my team members, and I have team members. Yiping's been with me for 32 years, and I have other people that have been a long tenure here. And at the end of this project, we're just not going to go forward with it anymore because I don't think they value us, and it's just I don't think I'm bringing value, and it's just not worth it. So in a sense, I think I'm going to fire them, but a lot of times maybe they're going to fire me first. What I will say to that, business is like relationships, and I have a philosophy is that in relationships you got to be willing to give more than you take. And I've also been married for 39 years, and I've had the business for 39 years, and I think that goes both ways. And in any relationship you have, if you're that. For whatever, that's just been my philosophy here, and the majority of my people haven't been able to live that. But
I will say that when we are being interviewed for a project, we're up against other people. Gary and I tend to have the attitude that we need to interview you, and we need to have you answer these questions because we need to make sure it's going to be a good fit. It's not just one way where we're happy winning business.
It's got to be the right business.
We've got to know it's got to be the right business with the right people. So I will say that about our approach.
Yeah, brilliant. I might say that we've never fired anyone, but we've told them their price is going up 50 times. That tends to do it. No, I'm just kidding. We would never do that. Well, that's great. I really appreciate what you're doing in the approach to identifying real purpose. Ultimately, then, I think to bring you to what you offer, that is you bring that into a message, right? A narrative, a communication plan, a strategy, but not until you've discovered the real purpose and determined that you can have an effective message. Am I saying that properly?
Yeah. It's you got to be able to apply that to all aspects of the business, right? So I think we were talking in the beginning where you provide data. Well, data alone is not enough. It needs to be contextualized in a story. And a lot of times a good story starts with a good purpose. And a purpose a lot of times exists because you're solving a problem, right? It's a fundamental reason you exist, but you exist because you're trying to change something or solve a problem. So your purpose is based around that. And so then I think it's an important part of a narrative, and it can get a company off to a good start.
In some ways, we always, we say a brand strategy, a corporate brand strategy, it needs to be, it is their business strategy. I mean, if it isn't, there's a problem. And then on top of that now, you're seeing that if their ESG strategy is not in alignment with their business strategy, it only comes to life and it's really real when it's aligned and a part of the business strategy. So it's in that sense also a part of the brand strategy. So those three things really have to work hand in hand. And when you talk about companies that are greenwashing, that's when they're greenwashing when it's not allowed, when it's not aligned.
Right.
So,
that we have a common narrative, really across the country. I mean, there's some divisiveness and some weird things going on, but we have a common narrative to talk about these things and agree that purpose should be part of an organization. You mentioned greenwashing. Purpose washing was the one other thing we wanted to mention. Yeah. I have a clever way that we can get at it here, which is through our fan favorite one question game that we're going to play real quickly. I was thinking about, I've decided as two guests, you still only get one answer. So we have to see your collaboration skills. Well, you can collaborate, you can explain however you want to do it. This game is very simple, and it's going to lead us to our next topic, our last topic. But the game is called Beans or Barley. And I'm going to name a company, and you just have to tell me, are they working with beans or are they working with barley? Okay? That's all you got to do. Beans or barley. What is their core ingredient and what they do? This company.
Wait. Can I consult with my?
Yeah, after I tell you the company. Yeah. Okay. It's called Purpose Brewing.
Oh, God. Purpose Brewing. They're brewing.
Yeah.
Is it beer?
Yes. Purpose. Well, it could be, but the point is that's sort of interesting because barley, if it is beer, it's part of that, but their purpose is probably brewing. So it could really go either way.
I'm sorry, Ryan, what's the question?
Beans or barley? Do they make coffee or beer?
Beer.
Beer. You're right on that one. They do make beer. Purpose Brewing, congratulations, out of, I think, Colorado. But here's what I want to talk about for a minute, okay? And we feature someone and we brag about good companies. There's no sponsors or anything. This one, I feel a little bit badly, but I want to talk about it a little bit. Purpose Brewing and Cellars, Colorado. I couldn't figure out the purpose. All these other ones, okay? I spent time on the about. There's nothing. So is this purpose washing? They literally just put it in their name, and I can't figure out.
It's like a family name or something. What if the guy's name is Brian Purpose?
Listen, I'm literally not. I can't. This is just between us and our hundreds of thousands of listeners or whatever we're at. But they could be totally legit. Check it out. I'm not throwing my wrist, but I couldn't figure out the purpose. I didn't figure out that it was a family name. Usually you can get those kind of things. And then here's one more thing I want to say.
Yeah.
It says they welcome and they like dogs, but then it says leashed, mostly quiet, non-aggressive. Do you really like dogs then if you got all these rules? But totally kidding. It's probably a wonderful place. I'm totally kidding.
I think that says a lot.
Oh man, we're gonna hear from them. They might need Baker brands to clean up this mess we made.
Yeah, you're gonna have to fix it.
We are a nightmare.
Yeah, boy, we were talking earlier about the bullshit factor. Well, if you're gonna call yourself purpose, you better goddamn say something about it. and even more important, demonstrate it and deliver it in some way, shape, or form. So,
Hey, never been there. Maybe they do, but on the website,
yeah.
6-7 minutes worth of research. I didn't get it. That's all. So
Yeah, no, I'm in Chicago searching for my next martini. I'm not a big beer guy.
Not a beer guy, huh? Well, that's
More
fair.
popular.
Well, great. I think we could talk for a long time. It's a very important topic. But I think we covered what we want to do today, and really appreciate all the wonderful insights from you and the great work that you're doing over there.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining us, and congrats on a really impressive career together and all the things you've done. It's awesome. And to still have that much fire and passion behind the work and in the way you talk about it after so many years, I wish that on myself and everyone else. I wish that everyone should find such fulfilling and meaningful work as you guys seem to have found. So this has been another episode of the ESG Experience podcast. We appreciate our listeners. If you enjoyed your time with us, subscribe on your favorite podcast directory. There's a new episode every month. And we appreciate the continued support of our podcast. If you do want to continue the conversation between episodes, follow us on your favorite social media channel and hashtag ESG Experience. And Roxanne and Gary, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ryan.
Thank you.